is the end of an era in the YouTube, Disney and vlogger bubble, or as some would call it, the notorious circle of goodness. Adam the Woo sadly passed away. Found deceased in his home in Celebration, Florida on December 22nd last year, 3 days before Christmas, succumbed from a heart disease, partly due to obesity and an unhealthy lifestyle. His body was found lifeless in his bedroom by his close friend Jim, also known as Doonbuggy Jim, who climbed a ladder 2 stories up to reach the bedroom window. After another vlogger named German in Venice sounded the alarm when Adam didn't answer his door or phone on the day of a planned collaboration between the two. If you want more of the story or details about that, I suggest you check out German in Venice's video on the matter as he recounts his first-hand experience that fateful day. Some time ago I already made a video about Adam the Woo, when he was still alive and well, of course. And I figured it might be interesting to do a sort of follow-up video, now that the proverbial dust has settled around his untimely demise. The thing is, this isn't really going to be a video about Adam. So if you're expecting an in-depth expose on the Woo, theories, hidden meanings or the nitty-gritty details surrounding his death, you won't find it here. There have already been a ton of AI videos about that dumped on YouTube. In this video I'll be looking into what happened after Adam's passing, the void he left behind, the reactions of his fans, his peers and his critics. How some took it with grace and respect, when others turned it into yet another grift, milking it for all it's worth. While quite a few people spiraled into a bizarre state of online madness, as all this leads up to a final celebration of life event as a culmination of sorts to everything that had transpired in the wake of Adam the Woo's death. This is the aftermath of Woo. Join me, shall you? News of Adam's passing spread like wildfire, but naturally his vlogger colleagues would be the first privy to the sad announcement, after his family of course. The response of the vlogger sphere was a mixed bag of heartfelt tributes and some creators playing up the friendship they had with Adam with some forced tears. Whether these videos were monetized or not had also been a subject of scrutiny. That said, it's clear Adam's passing had left a mark on his core posse like Tampa J, Carpetbagger, Team Tracker and most certainly Justin Scart. I'm sure the Carpetbagger had to restrain every atom in his cookie dough body not to fire up a live stream to talk about his feelings for a few super chats. I think in some recessed, sane part of his brain, this kinda scared him shitless. When it comes to health, him and Adam were in the same boat, but Jacob's side had a lot more leaks, so I think this has been a rough wake-up call for him and some others. Tampa J, on the other hand, has begun the final stages of his metamorphosis into Jay the Woo, using more of Adam's catchphrases, emulating his mannerisms a lot more, and slowly reading every damn sign or info board he stumbles across. Hopefully he has enough testosterone left to grow a beard to achieve his final form. Even the fine folks of Best Life and Beyond found it in their pitch black, blood-pumping, beating fleshy cardiac organs to make a sweet, truly heartfelt tribute to Adam in their video, complete with monetization and Patreon pushing. Such sweet angels, why it's almost enough to forget they were mortal enemies with Adam not so long ago after screwing him over royally. I'm going to have to do a whole video about these nitwits someday, aren't I?
Fuck.
Anyway, people rightfully called them out on their two-faced grifting. The drama reached a boiling point with Disney-approved family-friendly vlogger and Adam's neighbor, Kevin Heimbach, dropping an F-bomb. Don't worry Kev, I won't tell Daddy Mouse. Talking about squeaky-voiced characters, Justin Scart has seemingly taken the biggest blow from Adam the Woo's passing. Being one of Adam's best friends, a title coveted by many vloggers suddenly, it'll turn into a whole thing later on, believe me. Justin's social media was centered all around the Woo, filled with tributes, expressings of sadness, and peculiar cryptid messages for months. The outsider's perception of Justin's behavior was mixed. While many Woovians see him as the one vlogger that will take the metaphorical torch from the Woo, others have deemed his excessive and long-winded social media postings and monetized vlogs about Adam as performative grief for grifting purposes. His self-proclaimed vision quest also raised some eyebrows. Now, I'm not a Native American. Heck, I'm not even an American. But I'm pretty sure a vision quest is supposed to be a private, spiritual ritual of inner discovery, prayer and fasting. Not gallivanting about doing sightseeing and roadside attractions while acting like a grieving widow with a woe is me attitude for all to see on your monetized YouTube videos. Several other YouTubers like German in Venice and of course our old buddy Carpetbagger did the same but in a less grating way, mainly name-dropping Adam the Woo frequently and hitting up classic Woo-related locations in their vlogs. Jacob even visited Alligator the Woo, but alas, the scaled beast had a more refined culinary palate than the Carpetbagger himself and wouldn't even have a nibble. Despite Adam's early departure from this world due to his health problems from overindulging on large amounts of greasy foods and drinking caffeine like water, the Wooverse vloggers keep gorging themselves on theme park food and other artery-clogging types of slop. The minority that did go to the doctor for a health checkup treat it more like content for views. It seems few of them learned anything from the deadly fate of their supreme leader, well, aside from turning the most mundane daily interactions into monetized content. I'm surprised none of them have vlogged the type of Thursday drop in the toilet bowl. Wait, let's not give them ideas. All these vloggers scurrying to put out their tribute videos with their lamenting about Adam the Woo and just how much of a deep impact friendship they shared to assure the viewer they were an important, nay, an integral part of the Wooverse, turned into an unspoken competition between these influencers, which was rightfully and mockingly called the Best Friend Olympics. We'll revisit this later on in the video because with these people, you know, it's only a matter of time before shit hits the fan. Now, as strange as some of these vloggers can be, leave it to the Woovians to kick it up a notch. First off, let me say that I'm sure the large part of Adam the Woo's fanbase are most likely normal, down-to-earth people that for whatever reason enjoyed watching his videos from time to time, whom were obviously sad with his passing and mourned in their own way. But you also have quite a few Woovians that over the course of many years have developed a concerning parasocial admiration and a very one-sided friendship with a now deceased micro-celebrity vlogger. It's safe to say things got rather goofy in the following months after the news broke their idol had left the realm of mortals. Adam the Woo's house in Celebration quickly became the memorial ground zero for grieving Woovians wanting to honor their fallen DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera-wielding messiah. Many fans would drop by the house at all hours of the day or night and leave behind a myriad of Disney or other Woo-related trinkets along with a sea of Starbucks coffee cups engulfing the front side of the Woo mansion in remembrance of Adam's unhealthy addiction to Starbucks piping hot beverages. Sad that seemingly the main thing reminding Woovians symbolically of Adam are Starbucks coffee, Big Macs and Disney junk. It does really hit home that a lot of the current fanbase are mainly fans of the soft era Woo, while the critics were fans of the early days of urban exploration Woo. Rather depressing, his decade-long career on YouTube is now whittled down to glorifying mindless consumerism. Eventually, Adam's family and defenders of the Woo legacy, Justin and Kevin, had to plead with the fans to stop unloading their crap on the front porch of the house. I assume the rats were getting the shakes from all the caffeine left out there. Alas, later his gravesite would get a similar fan treatment, forcing the family to once again make a plea to the Woovians to stop using Adam's grave as a dump site for their nostalgia. Losing their daily dose of Woo shenanigans even inspired some Woovians to pick up the camera themselves to dive headfirst in the exciting world of daily vlogging on YouTube. Although most of these new channels only lasted a few weeks tops because the few vlogs I saw emerge from these overzealous fans were mostly pilgrimages to the Woo mansion or his grave, with some people even visiting several times to make updates on an empty house with a crapload of Starbucks cups in front of it. Riveting content, I'm sure. People even took time out of their family trip to Disney to drop by Adam's place to gawk around. I'm sure their family completely understood the need to take time out of their ridiculously expensive Disney vacation to go stare at the empty house of a dead vlogger. I've also seen some make a whole day tour out of it, visiting various Woo spots in Celebration and the Orange Circle. Now that was a missed opportunity to make some good money in my humble opinion. Some entrepreneurial mind could have easily gone the Hollywood route and sold a bunch of Woo hotspot maps and even have a few of those sightseeing buses drive Woo pilgrims all over the place. A missed opportunity indeed. Although some Woovians didn't even need to drop by Celebration, since apparently Adam was doing house calls in all his ghostly glory. Seeing how in his later years Adam would actively avoid dealing with his fans, usually blaming his social anxiety, the afterlife must be really boring for him to start hunting Woovians now.
Jeff Wheatcraft was physically attacked in this attic on September 4th, 1989 by an invisible force that actually pulled him up onto a nail protruding from a rafter beam and actually tried to strangle him to death.
There was even a rather dark confession from a stalker that had a very disturbing obsession with Adam the Woo. I really hope this was just a troll, because otherwise, yikes.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
As many great ancient civilizations built statues and temples for their gods, so too did the Woovians demand the same for their saint of crooked camera angles. Creative yet artistically lacking fans quickly found their way to AI image generators and flooded social media with AI-generated masterpieces such as Adam at the pearly gates of heaven meeting up with Jesus, Walt Disney or Ozzy Osbourne. Or how about Adam sharing a piping hot beverage with Elvis in paradise? Truly a modern art masterpiece if I do so say myself. Some Woovians would even turn themselves into an artistic homage by etching a Woo quote tattoo upon their flesh. A lifelong reminder they once worshipped a mildly popular Disney vlogger. Of course, for the die-hard Woovians, this was not enough. And how could it be? They wanted Adam's favorite baseball team to do something special for him. They wanted him credited as an Easter egg in certain movies. They wanted a Woo museum. They wanted statues erected at the Disney parks. Heck it, they wanted a big, shiny Woo star on the Hollywood Boulevard. The world was not enough, baby. Now, did they get any of that? Well, they got a memorial plaque on 2 wooden benches, and some rando paid to have Adam's obituary flash on some billboards for a few days. I know I sound a bit mocking, but I'm honestly impressed they managed to get anything done at all. I'm not used to very vocal, terminally online people doing anything for that matter. Props to them. One of those wooden benches, namely the one located in Adam's abode of Celebration, is the brainchild of none other than Woo neighbor extraordinaire Kevin Heimbach, alongside the real estate agent that made Adam pay top dollar for a house with the only bathrooms available on the 3rd floor. Can you imagine having the shits in that place? You would either become a marathon runner or break your neck falling down the stairs with a brown stain running down your backside. Oh, and don't think about sticking any stickers on that bench, because Kevin is watching that thing like a hawk, and he'll post a very angry rant on Instagram if you do so. You have been warned, evildoers and brigands. But they could have used a tape measure to center that plaque on the bench though. But I guess the tools of the working class man might as well be alien artifacts to these people. It's well known Adam also had a decent amount of critics, judging from the existence of the sizable Adam the Woo criticism subreddit, the several commentary channels that sprouted up on YouTube to cover the daily going-ons of the Wooverse, and the many mentions of him in gossip forums. Most were surprisingly graceful and offered their condolences to Adam's family and friends. Their main brunt of criticisms now seemed aimed at Adam's contemporaries and their questionable actions around this tragedy, and some also making speculations about Adam's cause of death. When the coroner's report was released, many of these speculations were proven right, although it wasn't exactly a Da Vinci Code to crack considering some of the Woo's lifestyle choices. Funnily enough, it was the critical viewers, or as Justin Scott would call them, the big, mean online trolls, that often would show the most concern for Adam's unhealthy habits, such as his pattern for starting yo-yo diets, over-consuming coffee along with greasy, sugary foods, and his stubborn rejection of any professional, medical or psychological help. Especially in the last months of Adam's life, when he had forgone any pretense of anything resembling his previous goals to get fit and trying to be healthy, leading to his rapidly expanding body mass, it was mostly these naysayers that would show some level of concern and urge him to go see a doctor, while Woovians were willing to turn a blind eye to the obvious visual decline of their online hero's health, citing it as him just living his life. Well, we all know how that went. Just like the so-called YouTube besties, there were also some sweeties crawling out of the woodworks to claim a stake on the love life of the late Woo. And no, I am not talking about the deer Adam would often serenade from his golf cart. But several women, some with more questionable backgrounds, that were at some point a part of Adam's life, usually shrouded in the blind spot of his camera, as he made a great effort to keep his romantic escapades out of the public eye. But of course, trying to have secrets on the internet is often a fool's errand, and these sweeties orbiting Adam were often uncovered by accidental camera shots from others. Adam liked the ladies, and you know what? Good for him. Get your dick wet, son. But now, much like his vlogger buddies, these ladies also wanted their moment in the limelight. Posting their stories and interactions with the Woo on Reddit and other social media, which, considering Adam's previous wishes of privacy surrounding these relations, struck many people the wrong way. Online attention is one hell of a drug. But just like there can be only one true best friend in the Wooverse, there can also just be one true alpha widow. A woman named Sophie made the very unwise decision to try and lay claim to that label, turning out to be one from the Woo's latest batches of sweeties. She was his shadow during some of his later international travels, and now that Adam was gone, felt no need to uphold his rule of secrecy and went headfirst for those 5 minutes of internet fame, spreading pictures of their time together and even text messages they exchanged. Those text messages put her in an even worse light, as it appears she isn't very bright and the Woo is at best lukewarm in his reception of her affection. I guess he put as much effort in talking with these women as he did in editing his videos. Many fans and critics alike found her actions disrespectful, and some Woovians felt a bit tricked by the idea that Adam the Woo always proudly boasted he was a solo traveler, while now it seemed like he often had a hidden companion tagging along. After enough backlash, Sophie wisely faded back into the background for the most part. There's also Daphne / Natalie / a bunch of other aliases she has, an old flame of Adam with questionable career choices, for which she needed all those aliases. Yes, OnlyFans. Of course, it's OnlyFans. She and Adam had this weird, bestie, borderline romantic will they, won't they friendship going on for many years, until she got a boyfriend and some time later they had a mysterious falling out which resulted in her adamantly refusing to be in any of his videos, and even going so far as to get chummy with certain commentary channels that were known to be critical of the Wu. Of course, in light of the news of Adam's death, she quickly changed her tune and was all tears and grief for the time being, but soon she would find herself in the eye of a shitstorm of her own making. Later in his YouTube career, Adam was heavily opposed against accepting any type of financial benefit from his fans, especially from merchandise. And seeing bootleg merchandise with his name and face on it pop up online would make his piping hot beverage boil over. Naturally, these bootleg Adam the Woo merch sellers really ramped up their operations to drain the wallets of grieving Woovians. Now, Adam's family also jumped on that bandwagon, opening a web shop selling anything from Adam the Woo shirts to Adam the Woo underwear, socks, umbrellas, you name it. This obviously also got comments, but I'm gonna let this one slide. Now, faceless nobody grifty bootleg sellers? Oh, those are 100% cunts. As we mentioned before, plenty of vloggers were name dropping Adam for clicks, and even Woovians were using him or his house with a memorial of stale coffee cups to launch their short-lived YouTube channels, so why wouldn't complete random people jump in and get some of that back? Well, naturally they did. You had the random YouTuber that never heard about Adam the Woo before suddenly make these news updates on his passing using the most basic information they could find from a 5-minute search on Wikipedia. Overall, pretty normal and on point for YouTube. Now things got a little creepy when you had these paranormal channels conjure up the voice of the deceased vlogger from the afterlife for a little interview.
Adam, where are you now on the other side? Adam, are you in a good place on the other side? Adam, I just wanted to give you these last few minutes just to come through and say whatever it is that you may have to say to all your fans and the world watching. You're also free to go back home to the light if that's what you choose to do, Adam.
So this is what it's come to. Grifting using the so-called spirit of a recently departed vlogger to sucker in views from his gullible fanbase. I would say we just hit rock bottom of the grifting rabbit hole, but we keep tumbling down. Through the technological marvel that is AI, YouTube is now swamped with these AI-generated videos and shorts narrated by a soulless voice that latches on to any ever slightly so relevant tidbits of news to churn out clickbaity slop. Alas, even Adam the Woo was not safe from these generative artificial intelligence monstrosities, as many of these idiotic videos with the most insane titles popped up as the news of Adam the Woo's passing gained more traction. These dodgy AI videos try to spin the course of events in an overly dramatic and just plain factually false narrative to grab the attention of the unwitting viewer. Murder, a dark secret in a haunted Wu mansion, a secret double life. These AI grifters were pulling out all the true crime TV buzzwords that would catch the attention of the average middle-aged woman that gobbles this shit up. It had all the makings of a very mediocre Columbo episode where at the end the killer would be revealed to be the Hamburglar. I think everyone, including friend or foe, was taken aback by the extreme amount of attention, often flawed, rhetoric that was generated in the weeks after Adam's death. Whether you liked his content or not, nobody can deny he made an impression on many people and had attained his own brand of fame to stir up this kind of buzz. After all the online madness and background noise, it was time to return to reality and grant a moment of silence in all the chaos for Adam's family and close friends to grieve as his funeral ceremony was held at the local cemetery at St. Cloud, a small city where he grew up. The funeral itself was a quiet, respectful affair without any drama, aside of someone that later turned out to be the administrator of the Wu Facebook fan group making the socially questionable decision to take selfies with a coffin and posting these online. The more I see shit like this happen, the more I question if Wuvians do realize Adam was a human being with family and friends that are actually heartbroken right now, or if they purely see him as this almost fictional character whose only connections that bound him to this mortal realm were pop culture references. The fact the gravesite later got the Wu Mansion treatment with generous dumpings of nostalgia trash seems to indicate the latter. Of course, a simple, traditional and serene funeral was not good enough for the ever attention-hungry pack of Wu-connected vloggers and many of his more parasocially conditioned acolytes. Adam the Wu needed a more flashy, grand and extravagant send-off, and thus some Wuverse creators put their heads together to achieve the equivalent of one slightly functioning brain, and the celebration of life was born. Or at least the idea of it. And who better than grieving widow and keeper of the Urkel doll, Justin Scard, to educate the masses on the hows, whys and when of this grandiose event. I know these people are obsessed with theme parks, but the back and forth communication Justin delivered surrounding this whole thing was a twisting roller coaster on its own. Shortly after Adam's passing, his father Jim wanted to do a big celebration of life that every fan could join, accompanied with a worldwide livestream, supposedly in the central Florida area. Following up on that, Justin also proclaimed there would be a West Coast gathering coordinated by him and a few other creators. Now at this point, there are two different so-called celebrations of life for the Wu in the works. Then follows a lengthy period of silence. When Justin eventually pipes up about it again on social media, he now mentions the West Coast gathering will also be a celebration of life event with a limited amount of free tickets available, which you could reserve online. These tickets were sold out, or reserved I guess, within hours, but Justin also encouraged people to come regardless if they managed to snatch a ticket or not, promising activities outside on the parking area of the event building, which would mainly be the presence of movie cars along with meet and greets with Adam's YouTuber friends and perhaps big screens broadcasting the event. Adam's family, in a follow-up to the West Coast Celebration of Life announcement, now cancelled any plans they had for the one in Florida. Leading up to the event, Justin suddenly changes his mind and now tells people not to come if they don't have a ticket, since all of a sudden there will be nothing going on outside of the event building. I can only imagine an authority figure or someone with a working brain told him that hosting a big unsupervised event outside was probably going to get him in hot water. Still, I bet he'd have to deal with pissed off non-ticket fans that had already booked everything for a trip to attend. Contradictory social media transmissions and ticket drama aside, they, as in the people doing the actual organizing behind the scenes, managed to secure a building for the event and, for better or worse, this event was actually going to happen, regardless in what state or how bare bones it would end up being. But mere days from the Adam the Woo celebration of life, it became clear not all was well in the circle of goodness. Up to this point, the Best Friend Olympics was mostly a showcase of Adam's so-called circle of goodness vlogger compadres trying to outdo each other with making grand tributes to their fallen king, mentor and leader in various ways or forms, each of them vying for the honorary title of Adam's best friend, most likely to convince a large chunk of Adam's viewer base to make the permanent move to their channel, allowing them to take up the mantle of the new Woo. But then, a curveball. Mere days before the highly anticipated celebration of life, a dark shadow dramatically loomed over the event. A shadow in the shape of a petite, overly tattooed, squeaky-voiced ex-OF model. Daphne, whom we briefly mentioned before, had returned as a scorned ex-something with a chip on her shoulder, and she had her sights set on Dune Buggy Jim, a good friend of Adam that wasn't really part of the usual vlogger circle jerk and was also dipping his toe into YouTube content creation now, accusing Jim and by extension mystery girl Sophie of poisoning Adam's family against her, which resulted in her not being invited to the funeral. The funeral she wasn't going to attend anyway due to illness and work issues, but now she's pissed she didn't get an invitation for something she wasn't planning on going to anyway. With her pride bruised, Daphne now portrayed Jim as this Charles Manson-esque mastermind that had infiltrated the inner sanctum of the Woo family and had elaborate diagrams of the scene of Adam's death adorning the walls of his home, while Sophie was some demonic succubus trying to lay claim on the love of a dead man. Okay, that last one might have some truth to it. Dune Buggy Jim quickly fired back with a down-to-earth response denying the rumors, while Woovians scrambled to pick a side. A few internet sleuths emerged from the critics community, suggesting Daphne/Natalie might have been fed this alleged information in an attempt to throw a wrench into the rising prominence of Dune Buggy Jim's YouTube channel. Perhaps a certain few of Adam's besties didn't want to share a slice of the pie with this relative newcomer to the Wooverse. According to Woo critics, there are a few suspects if this slander plot was to be believed. As bold as she seemed in her video, our ex-sweetie was just as quick to private it when people started to question the validity of her claims, the lack of evidence and most certainly the unlucky timing of it all. She promised to release another video at a later time with all the proof and receipts. Amidst all of this, Jim's channel kept growing. Maybe, just maybe, Adam's very religious family just didn't want an ex-OF friend with benefits type friend that made spicy content on Adam's dime around during his funeral in the presence of their extended family, friends and church congregation. Perhaps I'm applying too much logic to this. Luckily, this festering spectacle of drama from people who put way too much effort in their pointless, terminally online presence seemed to die down quite a bit when the day of the big celebration of life finally arrived.
And I just want to give a huge thank you guys. We have a great program. We got speakers. Adam's family's going to be here. It's going to be a really good celebration of Adam's life. You guys are the best. We'll get started here in just a few moments. And Jeremy, go ahead and start running that video again. Yeah, for those 9 people who clapped, thank you. I appreciate that.
Despite all odds, the event itself went pretty smooth. There was no drama, the YouTube livestream held up pretty well, and quite a few people shared some personal stories involving Adam, either live on stage or through video clips shown on a big screen, along with a big tribute video about Adam's life, or his life on YouTube I'd say. Provost from Provost Park Pass, one of the more grounded adults among the Wooverse vloggers, did a great job as the MC, introducing the various speakers and knitting together all the segments of the show. I'm sure a lot of people were dreading the idea of Justin being the MC and having an oversized toddler squeaking and running amok on stage for several hours, so choosing Provost to host the celebration of life was really a smart choice. Tom Wilson, an actor well known for his role as Biff in the Back to the Future movies and a friend of Adam too of course, stole the show with his upbeat and engaging eulogy for the late Wu, as the crowd was hanging on to his every word, and a lot of the vloggers present got a free lesson in public speaking and charisma.
I've been hanging out with a long parade of stand-up comedians, rock musicians, punk rockers, and let me tell you something. I've been to a lot of memorials. I can't even use the mic stand because I can't lose this A+ material, baby. All right, Adam the Woo. We were very different people. He was a punk rock tattoo guy. I know we've got a lot. Listen, there's a pirate ship off the coast in Newport Beach. They say they want the tats back, okay? He was a punk rock tattoo guy. I'm an Irish virginal epiduris, man. And we were very different.
Outside of the event building, the fine folks from DC DeLorean even showcased various movie cars in honor of Adam's love for these vehicles, making true on a promise Justin originally made and then backtracked from. What I did notice while sifting through that Adam the Woo tribute video they played on the event is that they mostly used clips of Adam together with his vlogger buddies or his later international travel stuff. In other words, a lot of the soft era Woo, and not much of his early more daring urban exploration or backroads Americana stuff. You know, the stuff that actually made him popular. This seems to be part of a bigger effort of the Wooverse vloggers and cohorts trying to rewrite Adam's history in their speeches, Instagram posts, videos and other social media whatnots. Clearly an attempt is being made to make Adam look like this well-known international travel vlogger despite his videos doing the least well view-wise. Then there's also the constant reiterating Adam had almost 1 million subs or more, while his channel was clearly on a steady decline for a couple of years now. Side note, there were also no clips or any mentions of Doonbuggy Jim at the event, while he was the good friend that climbed 20 feet up a ladder to find Adam on that fateful day. Another attempt of the hypocritical circle of goodness to alter history, perhaps. The biggest annoyance I and many others had, though, was Cringe-Lord Justin's insufferable need for attention as he grabbed the mic at the end of the event to scream out his personal catchphrase, "Go home and sleep well," after the final speech with the crowd saying, "The vlog is over" in unison, perfectly closing the ceremony.
The vlog is never over! Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We all love Adam. You guys can exit out the front. There's some movie cars out there. You can take photos of them. But thank you so much for being here. You truly are amazing. Now go home and sleep well. Now go home
It was also an odd thing to say since Adam was found dead on his bed. All that aside, I have to say the celebration of life was seemingly a success. It may not have been the grand experience many would have liked, but it's clear many people who held Adam in high regards worked hard on this with the limited means and time they were offered and did the best they could. After the event, our giggling drama queen decided to take another shot at Dunebuggy Jim, saying he left threatening voice memos and that he was so dangerous they had to arrange extra security for her at the celebration of life. Of course, with zero proof, this was once again a big nothing burger. She would later abruptly remove this post because with the hole she was digging for herself, she probably reached China by now. Adam's mother later responded to an Instagram post of Dunebuggy Jim praising his good friendship with her son and the rest of the family. Another nail in the coffin of Giggles and her fellow jealous pseudo-woo bestie conspirators. I know it seems I'm taking Jim's side here, and well, I am. In light of what we know so far, there has thus far been zero, nada, nothing that can be seen as proof for any of the accusations thrown at him. And let's be honest, who are you most likely to believe? A down-to-earth guy that likes to drive around in his dune buggy, likes home improvement projects, watching rocket launches and goofy costumes? Someone that seemed to have a real, normal friendship with Adam both on and off the camera, even helping him around his home as the ever-friendly handyman, always up for a good laugh when Adam asked him to do a video skit. Or would you instead believe a pathological liar with a history of creating drama and making false accusations for clout, whose friendship with Adam largely consisted of him buying theme park tickets, hotel stays and other stuff for her in exchange for hugs and Eskimo kisses? What did you think I was going to say? So unless any new damning evidence comes out that Dunebuggy Jim is actually a master manipulator and a dangerous psychopath with a bloodlust for failed OF models, I'll stick with my current opinion on the matter. In fact, something that has been noticed often with Adam and most of his vlogger friends is that the friendships were very transactional in nature. Well, maybe not as in nature as with old Giggles, but for views and using Adam as a stepping stone to reach a bigger audience while Adam got some company to tag along. This is quite evident when you observe how some content creators suddenly did less and less collaborations with him when they obtained a significant following on their own channels. Even now, from the day Adam was found dead till the celebration of life, they've been using a dead man as a means to an end. Not a friend, no, a currency, to attract more views, gain more subscribers. The gravy train must be kept on track at all times. The algorithm beast must be fed. Even if it's fed the souls of the dead, it will feast nonetheless. I think while not being the most talented or most hard-working vlogger of the bunch, Adam was the glue that connected and sometimes even held together this bunch of emotionally stunted online vlogger personas. From what we can gather, Adam was the one to motivate his peers to keep vlogging, meet and hang out with other vloggers through Adam's connections, a lot of it often also funded financially by Adam. It's no mystery why this clique of vloggers is commonly referred to as the Wooverse. It always was the Woo's ball court, the others were just allowed to play in it. We'll have to see, now that the glue holding everything together is gone, what will happen to the others. Obviously, some will manage to strike out on their own, while others will fade, and these social collaborations will probably diminish as well. Sure, one of them could eventually emerge as the new Woo and form the new center in this unique universe of these peculiar individuals. But as it stands now, I don't see any of them being capable of stepping up for that role. Adam had many flaws, but he did have that special, inexplainable, charismatic edge, along with an almost fantastical amount of childlike wonder, which drew these crowds to him like a magnet. So it'll be, I wouldn't say interesting, but slightly amusing to see how things evolve in this bloated niche on YouTube. With the top dog gone, it's very much a dog-eat-dog world in the vloggersphere. In that regard, this Daphne vs Doombuggy gym drama might just be a prelude of things to come. And thus we reach the end of this already too long video. Yes, a lot more random stuff happened and still is happening, but I think I've covered the main events that defined all the fallout after Adam the Woo's passing. With the funeral and celebration of life in the back view mirror, I suspect things will now slowly die down somewhat. Sure, you will still have Woovians building little shrines to the Woo in their house, and you can bet your ass some vloggers are going to try and squeeze the last bits out of name dropping him for views, but all in all, the vlog might be over. Adam the Woo can rest in peace. It was an interesting experience to behold how the sudden death of a long-time YouTube vlogger could stir up such high emotions among his peers, fans and critics, generating such a movement and discourse. Some would say it is a testament to the empathy and respect people can foster for those they look up to, while others would argue it's a disturbing example of parasocial relationships on a large scale. It's probably both, but you can decide which way the scales tip on that notion. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for enduring this video, and I hope you got something out of it as well. This was the aftermath of Woo.